to order at the hour of 5 p.m. I need a mover by Dean. Second, Randy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Anybody see anything they want to remove from the consent agenda onto the regular agenda? I think there was only there was an EK pumping report, RCMP July stats, and the chamber board meeting minutes. Nothing much there. Agenda item 2.2, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to adopt the agenda for the August 24th, 2020 regular meeting of Council as presented, and that a copy of this agenda be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. Move to second. Chris? Carried. All in favor? Anybody see anything on the agenda they wish to declare a conflict of interest on? Between Monica and I took a look at it and didn't see anything. We will move on to agenda item 4.1, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves, whereas the time being 5:01 p.m., that the regular meeting of Council be adjourned to a confidential in-camera meeting. I need a mover at this time. Randy. Dean. All in favor? The time being 7:02 p.m. that the confidential in-camera meeting is concluded and the regular meeting of council is resumed. So could I have a mover and a seconder for that, please, Chris? And Dean? All in favor? Great, thank you. Okay. Agenda item 6.1, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve as presented the minutes from the August 10th, 2020 regular meeting of council, and that these minutes be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. Mover and seconder, please. Randy, Gary. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have delegation from Bear Hills Media Corp. Bruce, can you come in and grab a podium? Bruce Bell.
Hello.
Bear Hills.
Bruce. Hi, council members, your worship. Thank you for listening today. How's everybody doing?
Good.
I think it was everyone got a letter that we sent out.
Yeah. We have to.
So basically, it explains what I'm looking for. I was looking for a reduction in our rent if we could. When we signed the deal, life was good and it seemed to be booming. Maybe not to you people, but because you're used to a little more economy. But to us, it was a bit of a setback here lately. So and the COVID didn't help as well. So just wanted to see what you thought and if there was any questions about it or concerns.
What kind of a percentage do you feel your revenue has kind of dropped in the last 6 months?
Well, probably in the last year it's dropped about 40% and then another 40% from that since the COVID in March. Yeah, we're down to about half a dozen advertisers now. So.
Is that partly due to competition and partly due to COVID, you figure?
I think it's a little bit of both, yes. The competition is there as well, and the economy, again, once there's more to choose from, sometimes people don't have that big of a budget, so they can't be everywhere. But I mean, it is business, right? So we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's unfortunately competition happens.
Council, have you got any questions?
What would you
is there a percentage you have in mind, or do you have a
No,
number?
we asked for $137 a month reduction, so I'm not sure what that is.
It's 437.
437, so.
Well,
it's
300, yeah.
So,
Yeah, we had it there, just
okay.
kind of remember what it was, so.
We have given like the residents all a 10% tax reduction this year because of
Both
COVID.
commercial and residential group.
So,
We're sympathetic to some of the issues businesses and our taxpayers because of what's going on. Nobody's immune.
Mhm.
So we understand your concerns and requests.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a no, it's just bouncing around, so yeah.
Sure.
Definitely, like you say, feel for you, we all feel it exactly, we all feel.
Yeah, we're all small business, so we, so,
Bruce, are you?
I don't expect an answer tonight, I just,
Yeah.
have to let you
Yeah.
know.
No, this is something we'll resolve at our next meeting, but, Randy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is this something you'd like to see for the next year kind of thing, or revisit this, or?
Well, I don't know if we have to revisit it. I'm sure if we come to an agreement, I think we got about 3 years left until the end.
To December 2022, so we
Yeah,
got
so
2022 and a little bit and a half, 2.5 years left, basically.
Yeah.
Just gotta go through it, have
Yeah,
it
just
done.
pick,
Be done with
pick a
it.
number and let's just leave it at that till the end and then we can revisit it then.
It's probably the best way, and then, like you said, we negotiate after that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, we're just hoping to, take some of the money, the funds, and put away to rebuild the sign, because obviously we do need to do some work to it. I'll be back again later this week to fix the west side. And, but it's just tough to get ahead to, the sign was $150,000 in the first place, and we haven't paid it off yet, so we can't even put away to hit a new one, so. But anyways, just want to let you know how it's going, and appreciate everything that the local businesses have done for us, so.
I did see you there maybe a month and a half ago on a Sunday night with your truck. I
Yeah.
assume that was you, the two of you maybe there?
Yeah, I work all the time.
You were up, so.
Sometimes nighttime is better because it's cooler.
Have you gone together areas you have signs or whatever, but you kind of asked kind of the same idea? Or?
Yeah, we asked the town of Delisle, town of Rosetown, and the town of Unity, actually it was a private owner there. He gave us the first 6 months of this year rent-free, basically. So.
Okay, that's private.
Yeah, I didn't even ask him for that. He just came and told me. But no, it's just that when we were doing this, it was like, we just assumed the economy would keep going this way, but it kind of went this way and now it's that way. So it's a little tough,
Yeah.
but we plan on forging ahead. Want to keep our sign here, keep it running good, and keep helping the local businesses and the non-profit groups and things like that.
Did you have a
Okay.
question?
Yeah.
We'll take your request into consideration, Bruce. We'll make a decision the next meeting, which is the 14th of September, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Then we'll get back to you immediately thereafter.
Sure, yeah, sounds
If
great.
we have to amend the contract or something, we'll probably.
Yeah, I'm sure your people will look after that for us, or tell us what we need to do there anyways.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Sounds fun, thanks, Bruce.
Thanks very much. everyone.
Have a good night.
evening.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Probably should read the resolution first and then get what's on it. Yeah. Everything sanitized? Carefully? Okay, thank you. Our resolution on 8.1 in the agenda is that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the cannabis retail store DU-2007 as a discretionary use at 208 12th Avenue East on the condition that it complies with the development standards of discretionary commercial and industrial uses pursuant to section 6 sub 14 sub 51A of zoning bylaw 0414 and that if any of the conditions outlined above are not met for this cannabis retail store, then the permit may not be approved and or may be revoked. Should we need a mover and seconder, and then we'll discuss?
I would, yes.
Okay, I need a mover, that's Dean. Second, Gary? Thank you. Okay, and now we're open for discussion. Terry and Sam, we heard from the proposed people last week, so we'd like to hear from you first.
Okay, good evening, Council. Take much of your time tonight. I'm Mr. Maxine, Sam Butcher, Randy Meyer, Barry Fawn, and Garth One-Hand with Garth Nate tonight. We're all part of the same group that have business at Brown 208. I talked about personally, I met you in Chambers and talked about this. Voiced our opinion, and I kind of got the idea that we had 3 or more the people on this list that was just that this would not go ahead with this location. I know Sam and the rest of us spoke probably to you or to the town office about that, and maybe I wrote letters or nothing, but that's what we've done. If you go by this, there's 6 locations on here. 5 of us do not want it there.
We're not against it.
No,
We're against the location.
exactly. It's not
Could
that
you,
we're-
sorry to interrupt, can you just tell your addresses where you are to be speaking on it?
I'm 202 A 12th Avenue.
And 312th Avenue East.
And your name, sorry, just so that we can record it.
Terry Maxfield.
Okay.
Sam.
I just think that, like I said, we're not against it. I think there's better stuff suited for that area on that highway. I don't think we need it on the main drag. I mean, whoever's looking for this will have, is going to be, they'll know where it is. They can locate it. I mean, there's better things to be put there, I think. Sam brought up the point.
Well, I had my people talk to a few people around town. The only thing that, well, I'm truthfully against it. That's a facility where mothers and kids can also go do their laundry, young kids from the oil field and everything else. They're not being subjected to it right there when they're walking into both of these things. I just don't believe they fit in the same location. That's what, in fact, right after I talked to one of my girls, she came back the next morning. She said, "Don't believe it? We were talking about this yesterday. Somebody asked on Facebook where the laundry mats are. She wants to put the laundry." So that's what.
It's fine. I hate to have to promote like we're all in the main drag. Like you're driving by and stuff, and you want to stop there and pick up something and go driving. I mean, I know liquor stores are probably in the main areas too, but we don't need 2 problems. So and that's another problem we're going to have is that, of course, it's going to be. And I still don't think you're promoting people stop in to pick this whatever up to do your thing. And as you drive, I mean, that's what's going to happen. Like I said, 5 of the 6 of us do not want it there. I think that's enough for council to have an idea that and maybe it should be put somewhere else.
Just so you know, like I said it in the last meeting and that, like, I'm totally opposed to this whole concept, but unfortunately it became legal. And you guys say you're not opposed to it, and like I said, that's why I wanted to just know, you're not opposed to the business.
No, you're not.
But we're open for business, and like I'm just trying to say, like our side of, because we can't do what our personal views are, we have to do what we think is right as members of the town, right? So, like I said, I'm totally against this whole thing. I'd rather not even have them around, period. But it's legal now, and it's a business that we would be saying no to that is legal. And you're not opposed to the business concept. But then you're saying to move it to somewhere else. And what if 2 people there or 3 people out of 4 say no to it? Then it's no to there. So we're like, I know that group, your group, and like I said, have said no to it. I mean, where is a good spot? And we're not the ones running the
Why did we
business.
put this up and why did you ask us? Why don't you just do it?
Well, it's,
Like there's 5 out of 6 here that are saying no.
Yeah.
But what else do we have to say? What do we have to do?
well, what it is, it's a legal thing, so we have to have, and then if there's no opposition to it, we say no to it. But if there is opposition,
There's opposition, us 75.
yeah, I know,
We are,
there is opposition, but we don't have to go by those things, we have to go by the whole thing. But if there's no opposition, then there's no issues. When there is opposition, then we have to discuss it and decide if it is the right thing to do. Yeah, and all I'm saying is that whatever decision we make is for, and I'm not saying we're for it or against it, I'm just saying whatever decision is made is based on
So,
what we feel is right as a town, not personal.
so Dairy Queen could have asked for the same thing then.
What's that?
Dairy Queen could ask for the same thing. where-
If they wanted to change it from Dairy Queen to a cannabis store,
you know, anything else, any other store, not just cannabis, any store.
or any store.
Yeah.
I mean, like, otherwise you can have 3 people deciding the fate of a whole town.
Sometimes that's needed, so.
Well, no, I agree, but what I'm saying is, you gotta, I'm hoping you, whatever we vote, is you understand the other side of it too.
Oh, why did I do that?
Like, we don't want to, like I said, well, I don't, like I said, totally against this, I don't want it at all, but at the end of the day, it's legal. And if there could be another thing that another council decides they don't like something, they say no to it, even though it's legal. So you have to be careful of how you
Can't
approach
say
it.
no to it just because of feelings.
Yes,
The town does need it because it's already here. We're already known for it. One of the worst towns for it. That's beside the point.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, to me, we don't have to make it front and center.
Right.
And yes, as part of your
and we,
intentions, I believe that.
and we see that elsewhere, we were hoping maybe somewhere else would work, but we don't get to dictate where they would like to build or open it. And I mean, I guess my look at it is it's front and center, so there won't be any issues because there's a person that lives there all the time, and it's right front and center where there's lots of traffic flow. There's nothing, you can't, anything happens there, everybody will know, or is another way to look at it. So anyway, that's kind of what
We
I'm
don't need traffic flow for this kind of business.
No, what I'm saying is there's traffic flow also to watch it.
But I think
It
the reason why
leads out.
this company wants to set up there is because of the traffic flow. And I don't believe, I think that.
Yeah, and like I said,
Anywhere in the community, anywhere that the traffic.
I agree totally with you, I brought that up with them, but it's not us that get to it's the business that gets
It
to
doesn't need
decide.
traffic flow, and I think they're saying they want the traffic flow. You don't need it. It's known, we know where it is.
Oh, I agree with them, I'm not arguing with it at all, I argue that with them too, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not the one building it or opening the store, so that means, I can't say anything about where they're going to be.
Deputy Mayor.
Actually,
Councilor Becker.
I'm with Dean, I don't believe in the concept of marijuana. I don't think it's it's a net negative to society, we know that. The other delegation came in last week and I was definitely not for it. But the only thing that made me think maybe that location is the guy that, not in my backyard, but the guy that owns the property actually lives right there, and that makes a big thing, because if there's gonna be lots of bad stuff happen, he's affected most. He's gonna be affected most, and that makes a big, obviously, yeah. That's, yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
You guys know Brian Wells, obviously. I don't know, did you discuss with him at all, just?
I can't do.
You did, okay, that's fine, that doesn't matter. Like Gary said, a lot of us in here, most of us, as far as I know, have absolutely nothing to do with that type of store. But it is like a liquor store nowadays. I know we haven't adjusted to it, especially the older we are, we don't. They'll get none of my business. But where would you suggest would be a logical place or places in Kindersley to put a store like that now? Like everybody's NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Listen to you guys, you three talk so far, it sounds like it's gonna be there. I mean, you guys are sounding for it, for the location.
Well, you're here as an opposition, so we're trying to discuss and feel it out.
But
So we
I
can,
get the feeling that where you guys are sitting, I can tell where you're sitting for that part. Gary, yes, you're saying that they're gonna be, he lives there and stuff, that doesn't mean nothing. Is he gonna police the whole area? Is he gonna walk around and see what's going on? Someone walks in and gets 2 or 3 joints and wants to go stand behind like Gary Vaughan down in that valley in there, which is a lot of space, but your place back in there, you got old trailers we can get into, we got all kinds of stuff.
But they can do that in any
They can do
location.
that anyway.
I know they can, but
Exactly right.
don't be saying that because he lives there, he's gonna watch it. He can watch it.
What it is.
We're not saying that.
No, it's just policed itself from somebody breaking into it, you know, it brings that other element.
Yeah.
Well, I think it does.
It's like me up on a farm, if I want to build a big feedlot, but I live 10 miles away, but the neighbor's right beside me, you know, I'm like, oh, it'll be fine, but if you're living, you know, he's actually sort of taking, yeah.
And
And I'm not saying I'm voting
We
for
are the
it
neighbors,
there.
we are the neighbors and we're saying we don't want it there.
I honestly think the kind of person that's gonna buy from that store isn't going out back to smoke it. It's a law-abiding citizen, it isn't buying it from the guy on the street corner. Those are the guys that I would worry about. And I think most of those places, and some of them, if you go by a strip mall where there's, like, in the cities and stuff, they're well laid out. They don't look like a dump. And they're not an eyesore. It's not like it's not the same to me. I'd be more concerned with somebody just deciding to park out behind that area, smoking illegal pot, not regulated pot, than I would somebody that's just gonna pull up and buy their stuff and leave. I would have it beside my store downtown if they wanted to have it and not have a worry, personally.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is where kids can be right beside it at the same time. That's the only comment that I have about the whole thing.
So then where would you put it?
I'm just saying there are down businesses downtown, their space is open.
Yeah.
That's all I meant by it.
No, I don't care, that's fine.
And
I'm absolutely fine with
through
it.
that,
I just don't want to do
else, we were trying to talk them elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because we did take your guys' what you had into consideration, we were trying for him, and it was a no to him, it was just a dead no.
That's right.
Councilor Baker.
Yeah, I think there was 2 things that, I agree, I would like to see it downtown more, we could use that money in older part of Main Street. But we're not, you know, we can't tell them where they can build, if it's the same zone. So that was one thing that I had last meeting. But again, that's not something we can force them to. But the other one was the comment that, you know, 90% of the town wants it, and only a few people don't. And I kind of said the same thing that you're saying is there's, well, 4 to 5 neighbors don't want it. So I said, like,
We're not saying we don't want it, we just don't want it.
that's what I'm saying, but the neighbors. And I said, sounds like you need to have a discussion with your neighbors.
Yeah.
And maybe prove that point that 90% of the town wants it. So something that has changed is they got a list of 25 businesses around in the whole surrounding area that are in support of it. Right? And that's kind of a big sway for me. Another thing is just looking at the exterior of the store. It doesn't look like anything different than a normal store.
But you know, I've been in business for over 40 years and I kind of know what people are looking for, what they're doing. I think I do at least. Maybe I don't, 'cause I'm still in business. I guess I should be retired, but you're saying, Bob, I said is be there buying the product, right? Well, I think they'll have better sales if you're, say, uptown, and you can park here, and no one knows where you're going to pick up your stuff. Because some people don't want to be seen doing it, I'm telling you, that does happen. They probably want it, but they can't, so maybe they're not going to buy this town, they'll go to a different town. But if you set up uptown, they could buy, like post office, and walk down to wherever, say, the smoke shop that's over there, and they can get their product, and no one knows nothing all over, you know.
We're in total agreement with that.
That's
We
what
tried
I think.
to,
I think for them, they'll have more sales by not being
In the
on the
spot.
main drive.
Yeah.
Someone drives up there, they know, hey, oh, that guy's coming.
There's a teacher, there's a, yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
marijuana smoker.
We're 100% in agreement.
But
with you.
uptown,
We all
no one knows, no one has to know.
We wanted them to
The
just say we can
sales would
prove
be-
something downtown.
I'm sure the sales would be a quarter more or a third more, not having even if the location is not good, but people are gonna go there because they don't wanna be known.
Yeah.
But part of the problem is, it's the retail concept, Terry. Why isn't your store downtown?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Location.
We gotta
Location,
we gotta compare
I know
some parts to selling marijuana, I don't think we should compare that.
that. No, but
That's their model, because it's not just one person. Their model is to be in the high traffic areas. He's on the same, and I agree with you that it's not the same to me. If you want to go find a cannabis store, you're fine. I agree totally.
You'll find it.
Like the old days of a liquor store, there was one liquor store in town, I don't care where you put it, you found it.
Because that's why you're coming here.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree.
we had our liquor stores, I've been here for a long time.
Yeah,
There
well,
was one right down by, the old Bamboo Gardens, right in that block. Then I moved over to Railway, and then now it's out on the highway.
this will be found too.
Yeah, but I
Doesn't
mean,
have to be right on,
the reason they moved out to the highway is
doesn't have to be
that's
right in our
the
face.
thought process.
It was for the truckers.
I don't think it has to be right in our face. I mean, whatever, I mean, for or against, it doesn't have to be in our face. And that's, it'll be right in our face, right there, right on the main drag, all the time. Every time. People driving by, Kindersley, they got a marijuana store right there, look at what they're driving here. I have it uptown, we're not, no one's gonna be a little worse.
Do you see them in other towns? Like I just, when we go up to the lake, there's the one at Battleford, I don't even really notice it.
Yeah.
That's something from the outside, it doesn't, that's what I'm getting at, just, it doesn't look like much that, it's not the cliche,
There's something-
there's not
There's gotta be something that shows that it's there. I mean,
Yeah, like there's not people hanging out front, token off, I mean, that's something good about our provinces where kind of regulate that, but that's something for me that I didn't see it as a bad facelift to that area, I guess.
I guess the other aspect is Brian is finding a renter for a legal business, and it's, I mean, if you say no to this, maybe something, I'm not saying, there's the other side of it too.
Yeah, if you say no, they're out there coming to town here. It's not that they're not gonna come here. They have to set up, this is gonna get good money for them. So if you say no there, they will find another place. They will go maybe to town or somewhere else, but it doesn't have to be there. If you say no, it's not gonna be there, it will be in town. We're not gonna lose this business. This store will open up somewhere in Kindersley.
But you're saying it's okay in somebody else's backyard.
We'll put it uptown where there's no.
What if there's opposition, I'd be fine
I'm
with
not
it.
saying where to put, you're the council, you decide where to put. I mean,
We don't get to. We just say the
Well,
areas.
let them decide another place then. If you say no, you have to find another place, then we'll go from there, right? I think we have look at all the trouble we have with the crisis center. I mean, that was a terrible thing, and that's a thing we really needed. That's a great thing. Look how much trouble that was, and you
Yeah.
guys went due diligent, you found a spot, good or bad,
Yeah.
but
But there was a greater percentage opposed to that, and in this council chamber that night than 6 out of 30.
Yeah, like we didn't have this before, right? Last time it was, you can't take a stranger at their word, right? That, they can say 90% of the community, but like to me, when I see this, that's every other resident.
Deputy Administrator Kim?
Yeah, I just want to provide some clarity just with our zoning bylaw. When cannabis became legal, so in preparation for that, what all the communities did was they looked at their zoning bylaw and what areas of town this type of business, like a cannabis retail store, where it would fit in the community. So most of the communities all kind of did the same basic areas. But they wanted, like, one thing that this council looked at, they wanted to make sure that it was a distance from schools, from playgrounds, from daycare centers, from churches, anywhere that the youth is kind of, going to be around. And then they looked at all the areas, didn't really want it in residential areas. So in our zoning bylaw, it was put in C1, C2, and C3. So our downtown core, basically, and highway commercial. So those are the allowable areas that cannabis retail is in our zoning bylaw. It's stated as a discretionary use in all of those 3 areas, which means every application comes to council where they look at, is it fitting, is it meeting all the regulations, do they have, the appropriate licenses and all those kind of things. And it does, and that's why the letter goes out to the 75-meter radius to the property owners in that area to get their feedback. And so that's why you got the letter today. But it is an allowable, because I know I'm hearing, that it should just be in the downtown core, but right now our zoning bylaw does state highway commercial. And so when that bylaw was done, it was a bylaw amendment, so it gets 3 readings, and it did have a public hearing as well as to what areas of town this type of business. And unfortunately, we didn't hear, from a lot of the public when that bylaw went through. But if that's something that council wants to look at, we can always do another bylaw amendment and take that out of, say C3 and only have it in the downtown core, because then that would limit the areas that this type of store could set up, basically. So I just wanted to give that clarification.
And we,
Anybody?
I was gonna say, we did suggest that too. I mean, there's a perfectly good abandoned liquor store by the mall. But that's a different zone.
Yeah, that's C4, I
That's
believe.
C4 zone.
So it actually doesn't fit in C4 or C5.
That can be changed.
By bylaw amendment, correct.
But then you've got kids at McDonald's,
So what?
kids at McDonald's, so we're in the same thing. You know what I mean? I understand what you're saying. I'm kind of, like I said, don't get me wrong, we're on the same page of this whole, I didn't even want to, I hope it never came.
Well, we delayed it too. We were one of the last towns to even, we weren't given the go-ahead to do it because the federal government backed their time for allowing it by a number of months, and we put it off till the new year of that year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because we weren't gonna render any decision until the federal government knew when they were gonna open, and,
Tell everybody else kind of.
yeah,
saw
we didn't think we needed to rush into this by any stretch of the imagination, because quite frankly, most of us could have cared less if it was here. But then when the time came, there was some applications, obviously. So.
As of September 1st, I believe it is, they are basically throwing it wide open as far as applicants and everything else, so.
So there could be more
There could be.
applicants in the town as well.
Yeah. It's not, the government is kind of pulling, or not pulling the plug, but they're just opening it up. And
Well, I know you asked us, 6 of us, and there's 5 of us who say no on this list. Otherwise, this list wouldn't even send it out. I mean, I think should give you guys enough of an idea of what we think, and I think should be. Any more questions?
No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We should have, if there's anyone else.
Yeah, you should have.
Corey, Brian.
Who?
I think that would be, we should also.
We have some Ryan Waltz here. Oh, we should.
The podium first.
Captain Sheriff.
We gotta do our thing.
Just gotta do our part.
Brian, when you get up, if you can state your name and your address, that would be. Addresses.
Worship from Council, Brian Walls, owner of 208 12th Avenue East, Kindersley.
Corey Take, 65. You're on that.
What are the other properties you have, Brian? You have more than one that's in the 75 meters.
We've got Mr. Sub, Pancho, and we've got Laundromat.
So 208,
214, 204,
Yeah.
probably?
204 is next door, yeah, the one next door is 204.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
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 Sorry, actually the laundromat's 206, the motel's 208, and then Mr. Sub, Panago are,
214, D14.
that's the one, yeah.
Okay.
It looks like you did a fair bit of homework and
Well, when the mayor gives you a job, you do it. I didn't want to even have to do
it
it.
doesn't pay that well.
I'm used to that comes without saying. Yeah, well, I went and I tried very hard to find the people who were against it. I started out in a small circle, and I talked to 2 people, and one was here tonight, and the other one isn't here tonight, and they basically said the same concept, not there, just the location, nothing against the park, just the location. So I kept going off further, and I went to Panago with Mr. Sub. They never even received letters, or that one of those letters saying that they were in the 75 meter, but they signed it as a positive thing, that they have no concerns about it. So I just kept going in a bigger and bigger circle. I couldn't find nobody against it. Either the location or the selling the product. And I was in people's stores. While I was in there, other business owners were in there talking to people. They wanted to sign the thing too. I get home, I get phone calls from other people outside the circle. They want to sign too. So I said, well, I got enough. I mean, I've got 30 people that I've talked to. And some, the ones that were negative, you know, I said, I can sit down with you and go over some stuff. Corey can come out, he can talk to you, kind of explain the situation where, you know, it's not just about selling the marijuana product, it's about the rest of the stuff that you can buy. And 3 people I talked to already had used the product for medical purposes. And so they have to drive to Unity or they have to go Saskatoon. So I said, well, okay, if you have to go, you have to go. I would go there to get the product. But, you know, it's, and I classify myself and these 2 other gentlemen that were just here, you know, we're long in years and we're kind of on our way out as far as our business cycle goes. But here you've got a whole new concept that's coming into place. The concept that's coming in, they aren't going to use it, I'm not going to use it, but some people will use it. And I mean, who are you to say it's good or not? I mean, we'll come back in 5 years, have a talk and see who was right. If they were right, they'll still be here. If they weren't right, I get the building back and I can rent it out to somebody else. But, you know, it's so hard to rubber stamp something, and like you say, not in your backyard. Well, in whose backyard do you want it into? Like we said last time over here, no playground, no schools, no daycare center. So here you are in the middle of Dodge, on the north end of town, where we have 4 businesses beside it and the vacant lot to the other side. We're the only people that are around the location. And if somebody's going to go out the back and smoke a marijuana joint, well, he'd have to take a number, because it'd probably be 287. Because go to the laundromat, it's not unusual, people sitting out in that cement table and chairs, token up. It's legal. I mean, what do you do? Go inside the store. I mean, there's beer cans in there. I mean, they're having a beer. We're going to shoot them. I mean, this is what you do. I mean, whether I sit outside, enjoy the while you're doing the work, but as opposed to kids coming to the laundromat, they can't get into the cannabis store. You're going to be 19. You have to be of age to physically get into the store. So, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. You know,
I thought that was interesting when Sam said that about people going in to do laundry, and the first thing that came into my mind, if you don't own a washer and dryer, chances are you're smoking dope. Well, no, I'm serious, because that's...
I could have shown them some snapshots of people. Not only did they have the kids doing the laundry, but they also had the marijuana. They were sitting outside having a cocoa, all 3 of them were in operation. So it was like a 3-ring service. So I said, well, who am I to judge on what you do? You know, it is what it is, and you and I may be going through it, but that's why we sit over there, and there's other people over there, and, you know, like you say, if you don't want to come into my store, well, fine, so go find something else, you know.
On the topic of people smoking outside of the building, I would lose my license if that happened. My permit's gone if that happens, so we have to enforce that. Smoking can't happen. There is a distance, I can't quote you what it is right now, in the act, there's a distance that we have to make sure it doesn't happen in. All of our stores are on the busy thoroughfares in the cities we're in, and people treat it like McDonald's. They go in, they grab their cannabis, and they go home. They don't light up in front of the buildings, they don't light up around the buildings. In all the stores that we currently operate, there is 0 smoking around our stores, and I know that because we've got responsible people running it. We don't have this problem that he's thinking of, and if he's thinking that kids and laundromats are kind of tied together, well, kids in Subway are tied together, kids in Quesada are tied together, kids in Pizza Hut are tied together, and we're right next to all of them at all of our properties. And we don't have that problem.
Just as a matter of question, Corey, did you run into any opposition in other communities where you've set up, like somewhere?
None.
So
I didn't have to go through this. This is, I enjoy this process, it's a good learning experience for me, but I did not have to go in front of council and talk to anybody for this. Like, I showed up at the PA City Council and they had me approved before I walked through the door. Yorkton, same thing. Warman, same thing. Warman, they invited me down to City Hall and they wanted to get to know me before, kind of like this, but they wanted to get to know who I was and they wanted to make sure they weren't going to have some daffy bugger running their business in their town. Like we're a different type of business, I think, than other companies that may come to you with this product. We're First Nations owned, and I'm run by a board of directors. And these are 4 boards of directors who want to show how First Nations businesses can run clean, good community businesses. On top of that, one of the directors basically said, Corey, we follow the rules. You break the rules, you can't work for us any longer. We don't break the rules. We've got a very good standing with the government, very good standing with the federal government, and we're showing that First Nations companies can be profitable.
I understand Terry's pushback because of a family situation, and you may know it. But, so I understand that, but it's just, whether you're into it or not, you know, whatever age you are, it's reality. It's the way it is, and these younger kids are gonna grow up and go, what do you mean you never used to be able to go in and buy a pot at a store? Just like a liquor store. You know, what do you like booze or you like pot? That's the way it is. You know.
It brings me back to, we used to go down to Idaho, go on to the sand dunes, in the town of Rexburg, right beside the one road, it's Rexburg, and then across the road is the county or whatever. They have Applebee's that they serve alcohol there, but in the town of Rexburg, they don't. They said no to it. And I always said, well, how is that? If somebody wants, it's legal. And I guess that's part of my thing here is, I don't agree with it or any of that, but if it's legal, I can't go against somebody that's wanting to open up. It'll be up to you to make the business work. If it doesn't work, well, if it works, then the town wanted it. If it doesn't work, the town didn't want it. Yeah. And for me, it's kind of the same concept of, it's a dry town. If the council decided it, I don't think all the citizens decided it, but.
Councilor Baker.
I had 2 for you. It's Corey, right? Yes. The one when Brian was mentioning about exposure to minors at the laundromat, like what is your concept or your vision for how that's going to work, and kind of how are you going to keep that separate?
It's hard to show you without a building, but I can kind of demonstrate it here. So really what happens is a customer walks in through the main door. We have a podium here that you can't get past. So there's a trigger button beside the door that triggers the door beside to open. So you walk into it, you don't see anything, you see a really nice front reception area. Someone greets you there, and you have to give your ID. You have to make sure you're not intoxicated. You have to make sure you're not going to be a problem, I guess, essentially what we do in our stores. And then at that point of assessment, then the staff triggers a button which releases access to the door. They can't get into our buildings without that. We're the only retailer that does that, and we do it for, I think, the reason why you're asking.
Is it going to look something like this then? Like
No. Well, that's an exterior rendering.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
That's real. I think our stores look nicer than that now.
Okay, but that's kind of how you're envisioning not getting.
That's what we've done in all of our stores to date, and that works. The only store we don't do that in is Warman, and Warman's just a huge store, and it just didn't make sense to do it there. And it was also our first store. Learned some lessons afterwards. All our future stores have this reception. Right. It just gives us better hospitality as well.
So yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And then the other thing, like 75 meters to me isn't just, to put out so your neighbors can complain about you. I mean, it's supposed to be for things like, is your building going to stink? Are you going to have dangerous emissions that maybe people aren't comfortable with? Are you going to devalue their property, right? Those are things that I see 75 meters being a legitimate concern.
Parking issues.
Parking issues, crime.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of that, but maybe you could talk about smell, product deliveries, maybe getting something falling on the ground.
Never. So this is how it comes. It comes in boxes. It's all nice and packaged up, and inside those boxes is vacuum sealed containers. You can't smell it. There is no smell. You go into the vault, and the vault's been closed for a whole night. You get a little bit of it inside the vault, but that smell never permeates outside the floors. We've got it in all 3 stores. I haven't been in a cannabis shop yet, and part of my job is to check these guys out that smells like cannabis. And we've done a pretty good job of ensuring that.
So when you ventilate your building though, like when you walk into this store, I mean, part of the way you keep the smell down would be ventilating it to the outdoors, like a constant circulation of air. Do you put some sort of like carbon filtration on your
The
exhaust?
vaults are sealed. They're sealed rooms. There's no ventilation in the vault, so the smell all stays inside the vault. There is no permeation of sound smell outside of it.
Okay, and the image that we're looking at here, the retail image,
Yes. That's our warming store right there.
that would be in a vault?
No, the vault is, you can see, well, you can't really see it. In the very far corner is the vault. And it's about a 8 by 14 room with 10 foot high ceilings.
Okay, so no risk of public safety, no risk of product getting lost,
No, we,
falling out back, someone's
No.
walking out back, and
No.
there's a vacuum sealed bag to sit on.
no, there's no vacuum sealing. Well, kind of, there's not really.
Any further questions? We have a question on the table. I think we've heard both sides. We've had more than enough time to think about this, and I would presume the council has made their mind up, so I'm going to ask for a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, which was to grant permission for that location. It's carried unanimously. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Thank you, Nate.
Agenda item 8.2, whereas an agreement exists between the town of Kindersley and the RM of Kindersley number 290 and the RM of Newcomb number 260 for the purpose of further developing and operating the Kindersley Regional Park. And whereas the Kindersley Regional Park Authority Board has approached 3 partnering municipalities for further financial contributions to offset the impact of decreased revenue and the need for a capital upgrade to fencing for the golf course. Then it be resolved that the Council of the Town of Kindersley approve an additional contribution of $12,500 for the year 2020 in lieu of any further increase to the annual contribution over the terms of the current agreement expiring December 16th, 2024. I will get a mover and a seconder, and then we will open it for discussions. Moved by Dean, second by Randy. Open for discussion. Audrey?
Yeah, through the mayor to council. So this letter came, it was hand delivered last week. So what they're saying, so when we did, we had a previous agreement with the Kindersley Regional Park Authority, and that expired at the end, I do believe, of last year. Our contribution to them was $16,500. They renegotiated the contract again. There was kind of some mishaps with the whole renewing of that agreement. There was no increase at that time added to the $16,500, so it would be like a 10-year time frame where there was no increase with the amount of grant that was going to the Kindersley Regional Park for either of the 3 participating municipalities. And then, so I guess at their board level or committee level, they did discuss that they did fail to, maybe do a slight increase in that donation or grant revenue that they received from the municipalities. And they did have some extra, they want to put up a fence where some of the tree line was removed for when we did the sewer, I guess, sewer line in there, we removed some of the trees, which a lot of them weren't in good repair anyway, but they want to put up a fence to kind of fill up that barrier. So I guess it was discussed by them that, instead of, doing an increase, let's just ask for 12,500, which is about a $3,000. I guess they had talked about making it 20,000 annually for these 5 years instead of the 16,500, but if we could pay the 12,500, then they would appreciate it. So I put that motion out there for you guys to discuss. I'm sure Deputy Mayor Irvine can enlighten a little bit more as he sat on that meeting.
Yeah, this was ongoing. Like Audrey had mentioned, there was no increase requested by the board, even though the majority of the board thought there should have been, or was led to believe there was going to be. It never happened. So just due to the cost of everything else, we were going to ask for something, and there was never a figure discussed between the regional board or the town, that being Audrey. But we just thought this would be a good compromise for the next 5 years, and it would help the course out. The trees that were removed, there might have been a few that mattered, but 90% of them it was a favor in my mind as a board member, I'll tell you that. But this would definitely plug some holes there of dead trees that were taken out, and prevent access to parts of that back end of the golf course, and it would beautify it, and we're trying to get some things done out there, and this would be big help. And then there'd be no increase for the next 5 years. And it basically works out to $2,500 a year over the 5 years if it's granted. Yeah. So.
Any further questions, council? You ready for the question?
Sure.
All those in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.3, financial report, Audrey.
Okay, so again, so we're at the end of July, we're about 50%, 60% done of the year, which is crazy. So again, in red are anything that has changed from the previous month's reports. The operating grants, you'll notice are right off the brief, that's just due to that LEAP grant, that $660,000, that was not part of the budget, that came out after. So, and we have received that money to, so that's in there. Point number 4, which is the planning and zoning revenue, the building improvements is just lower than anticipated right now. I'm not sure if that's gonna ever go up that high. Point number 6 is your pool admission revenue. It is currently low. Again, maybe we didn't lower it enough due to COVID when we did the budgets, and I'm not sure. But I mean, we are limited with numbers in there, but this weekend she did have 100 kids in there, both Saturday and Sunday. So it is picking up, and we're starting lessons and all that stuff. So, we might see it, but I'm not sure we'll ever get to where we budgeted, due to the closure of the pool. Point number 9, the alcohol revenue. Again, that's due to the minimal rent. We haven't had rentals. We are charging the Saskatchewan Health now for it, just to cover the utilities and such on the building. And we have that contract in place until October 31st, and then we'll have to look at whether we want to keep it there or if they need to find a new location. And also with the alcohol amortization is 40% of the whole expenditure budget, so that's always gone. And then utility revenue is low, and that's just, we haven't received a lot of the lagoon grant for the lagoon project, which we have to have a intake in here September 15th or something like that. So we'll be getting some revenue there.
Any questions, council? Not, we'll move on to there it is. Council of the Town of Kindersley resolved to accept as submitted the list of accounts as paid by the Town of Kindersley in the amount of $1,432,405.19, and a copy of said accounts be attached to and form part of the minutes of this meeting. Did you have any queries on this at all,
Not that I saw it, if you did, I apologize, I didn't see them, so I.
800,000 is a progress payment for Acadia Construction for the industrial area, and another 350 for the lagoon, 45 for the skate sack, so $1.2 million out of $1.4 million is capital projects that were got in progress right now. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the report? Hearing, second, Dean. All in favor? Thank you. Agenda item 10.1, that the Council of Town of Kindersley resolves to approve the consent agenda of correspondence. UK Water Board Company report, RCMP stats for July, and the August Chamber of Commerce meeting, which I attended. And our new RCMP staff sergeant is here, and he's scheduled to meet with us in September. Okay, so that's that report. Can I have a mover seconder of that, please? Chris? Andy? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and 11.1, that the Council of the Town of Kindersley resolves, whereas the time being 7:56 p.m., the regular meeting of council be adjourned to a confidential in-camera meeting to review previously circulated items. Need a mover and a second. Andy, Gary. All in favor? Regular meeting of council is resumed. I need a mover, seconder, Gary or Andy. All in favor? Gary. Any business arising out of the in-camera section? Seeing none. 14.1, that the Council of Town of Kindersley resolves that all business having been concluded, the August 24th, 2020 regular meeting of council is adjourned at 9:02 p.m. Mover, seconder. Looking that way. All in favor?